Hi everyone, this is immigration lawyer John Khosravi. It's July 9th and I want to thank you for joining our regular Q&A session Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, where I take questions about U.S. immigration law. Now these are general questions for educational purposes, not intended for individual legal advice. You should consult with an attorney in private about that. But I'll just give you ideas of what's going on, explanation of what's going on in this complicated system for immigration that we have. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and ring that bell to get notifications because we have all sorts of updates and information there. But you can catch the live Q&A section, the actual live session on TikTok. Immigration Lawyer John, J-O-H-N, is the screen name. And on Thursdays, which is today, we're also on Instagram at the JQK Law Firm Instagram page. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll be on the Facebook page. Try to, switch it up and be on different places. But we'll be on JK Law Firm Facebook page on Fridays. But having said that, let's get it started. Okay, so the regular kind of stuff is going on. This week was a really heavy week for people that are student visa holders. These are people that are students come from overseas to the U.S. to study. Unfortunately, if they enrolled in a class that this spring is going to start, and it's going to be a digital or online course, ICE, who manages the student visa program, said that they're not going to be accepted and they have to leave. So you have to figure out what you're going to do. Are you going to re-enroll in a class that is intended to be at least partially in person, or are you just going to go back home and do the class online while you're at home? So that's yet to be seen, but it's very disruptive in a lot of people's lives. So one of the situations we could do with that is either go and change schools or talk with your school to see if they have in-person courses, or you could potentially change of status to a different kind of status, or maybe what was the other thing? Yeah, if you're planning to get married sooner and stuff like that. User 952 asks, is there any problem to renew an EAD and merit-based petition? When you say is there any problem, that's too broad. In general, when you have a green card case based on marriage pending, you could initially file for a work permit, an EAD, employment authorization document, and then once that's near expiration, you could file for renewal. So you could file for it. Is there any problems? That's really case specific because I don't know your situation to see if there's anything that's wrong with you, but that's that. Abdul says, good morning. Well, good morning and good evening to you right now. Live it's 5 p.m. Pacific time in Los Angeles, but if it's morning, you're probably somewhere in, I guess, Central Asia or something like that. Where is morning right now? Iran is 12 hours away. It's 5 p.m. They're probably more towards Eastern, more east, I guess. But let me know, Abdul, what country you're from that you're saying good morning. But thanks you for joining us. If you have any questions on Instagram, if you have any questions on TikTok, please shoot them out right here while we continue going through the process. So, there's another thing that popped up that I wanted to discuss. Every time I have a lot of things I want to talk about, then the camera turns on, and I'm like, oh, I forgot what I was going to talk about. But the K1 fiance visa issue is still happening. One of the embassies, I think it was London, issued a correction saying, yeah, they will accept K1 fiance visas once they begin normal processing time. So they clarified that K1 visas are non-immigrant visas. There was a senator's office that clarified as well that the K1 visa is a non-immigrant visa. So when an embassy that you're dealing with is opening up to regular operations, at that time, they can accept those visas. If they don't, we have to kind of contact them, try to figure out what's going on, try to fix it up. But I wouldn't be worried right now too much if you have a K1 visa, you're waiting for the interview, or you're waiting for the embassy to open up and you want to do a visa appointment. The K1 as of now is not included in any of these travel bans. I mean, not any of the trials, with the non-immigrant or immigrant visa travel ban. If you're in Europe, if you're in Brazil, if you're in Iran, if you're in China, or not in China, you visited one of those countries in the last 2 weeks, then, thanks Marjorie, then you could be hit by these travel bans, so be mindful of that. But barring that COVID-19 style travel ban specific to fear of you coming in with that disease, then that's that. So there's a lot of things the administration has in the plans to really mess with people and really destroy lives. They're popping up, and these regulations they're putting up are coming, and we'll talk about them as they come along. But it's a very shaky situation. But yeah, throw out your questions. We'll take it from there. Mr. Steele says, "Hey, what happened when a woman ends up using you for a green card? Does she get a reverse card?" So this is somebody who fakes a marriage or lies to you to fall in love, get a green card. Well, I mean, that person, she or he could keep the green card if they could prove the marriage is real. a lot of times when relationships fall apart, and sometimes they do, one party gets angry, like the U.S. person, and says, oh, this is fake. That's not always the case. Sometimes we fall apart, sometimes things fall apart, and sometimes they don't. So you can't really judge like that, but if you have proof, like some written proof that says, hey, I did this for fake reasons, then you could maybe notify the government. They may or may not do something like that and take it away for fraud. But you gotta, there's a lot going on there. Abdullah says, well, I have to do an interview for CR1. Yeah, so a CR1 is a conditional relative one. This is the person who's doing a marriage-based green card based on a recent marriage. These require, almost always require, an interview. I rarely do not need an interview for that. Watch Out says, hi to you as well. We have a question on Instagram. And Faison says, so at the end of the year, these unissued green cards will go empty employment-based category. That's what one of my colleagues told me. I haven't researched this myself, but there's a lot of these family-based green cards that are not going to be issued this fiscal year, which ends at the end of September on October 1st. What happens is, one colleague told me that they get sent and given to the employment-based category for next year. So if that's the case, yeah, there'll be a big boost for people that have employment-based green cards that are pending. I haven't done the research myself on this exactly. It's not something that I have any control over, so I don't go into too much detail. But that's what I heard. I can't verify that for sure. That's probably what it is. Abdul follows up, well, I have to do an interview, yes, in the USA. Well, it depends on where you are, Abdul. So I need to know more about your case, whether the interview will be at the embassy or will be at the US. Depends on where you are, frankly. If you're outside, it'll be at the embassy. If it's in the US, if you're in the US, it'll be in the US. And then you'll have to do another interview, maybe not, in 2 years' time after getting your green card. Mr. Steele says, seriously, question with humorous tone. Yeah, sure, it happens. It was the question about whether someone lied to get a green card. You do, but yeah, that's the situation. Adia says, hello to you too. You're welcome, Fake Sam. Trump says, do you have any idea when immigration going to start taking marriage-based interview? Thanks. They're starting. I just got word that the San Diego office will start scheduling interviews for adjustment or green card cases. They said end of July is when they're going to stop focusing just on naturalization, so that should be it. But it really depends on your local office, so it's too hard to judge and say a general question like this. Some offices may stay closed longer, some may take longer. It really is a case-by-case and office-by-office situation as to when the marriage-based green card interviews, or just green card interviews in general, will begin. So the only thing you can do is be patient and hope it happens sooner. Does embassies still schedule interviews? For some embassies, like in France, started issuing interviews, some haven't. So just like the situation where if you're doing a green card interview within the U.S. as opposed to abroad, if you do at the embassy or in the U.S., it really depends on the jurisdiction you're in, the local jurisdiction, and what their situation with dealing with this COVID-19 virus is. So it's impossible to ask a generalized question, are they all going to close, or are they all, it's law. It always depends on the case and on the location. Shahrukh on Shukra on Instagram says, is this possible to bring all members of my family, parents also including citizens and brothers of 18 while I'm a citizen? Okay, so if you're a U.S. citizen, what family members can you bring? It's pretty a better way to probably put the question. When you're a U.S. citizen, you could apply for your parents, you could apply for your spouse, and minor children under 21. You could also apply for your brothers and sisters and adult children that are single or married. But if you apply for your brothers and sisters, will your nieces and nephews coming on or not? Well, that depends. Their age has to be under 21 at a certain time towards the end of the process. And explaining that gets complicated. We'll have to get into that. But if their age goes over 21 at that certain time in the process, then they have to do see if the Child Status Protection Act, CISPA, applies to the case. And to put it briefly, I'm not going to go into too much detail, you have to subtract the time it took for the I-130 petition to get approved from the age of the child, the niece or nephew. And if that time it took approved brings their age under 21, and you filed the case at the right time within a year of the priority date becoming current, then you can bring it in. Now, I just said a lot of stuff and it's confusing, and that's why I don't like to talk about the subject in a video setting without going through the paperwork and step-by-step doing analysis, because it's going to be confusing. A lot of lawyers have a tough time with this. So may or may not, 18 is in the age, it's 21. That's the age that you want to go. But in your case, if you want to apply for your brother or sister who are under 18 and your parents, as a citizen, you can't put that all in one. You apply for your mom, you apply for your dad, and you apply for each sibling. And that's the way it is. Now, one thing is the tactic to use in that kind of case, because if you apply for a sibling, it's going to take way too long to be able to get that. It's going to take like 18, 20 years maybe. So you apply for like your dad, And then once your dad gets a green card, your dad files for his wife, meaning your mom, and the children are 21 come within that. Now there's a timing issue, you got to figure it out, but if their kids are under 21 and you file the case in time, that will be a better, more cost-efficient way to do it as well. But this goes with strategy and all this kind of stuff we're talking about. You really should consult an immigration or your private if you're interested in doing that, because I've seen many people do it wrong and really mess things up because of the way these things work out. So I'd be very cautious about that if you plan on bringing the family over. All right, we got a lot of people joining us on TikTok. Abdul says, would you post this video on YouTube and when? I'm not sure when, what you mean, but Abdul, every video is posted on YouTube. Just go to JQK Law Firm YouTube page, JK Law Firm, and you'll see the videos. It'll take a day or two for this to get edited and put on YouTube, but it's all there. You'll find it there. Samir says they started in New Jersey. There you go. So they are opening up. Fresno office. I'm not sure if you're saying it's open or if they're going to open, but they're opening up. Nazir says, hi, is the USCIS office starting to schedule a naturalization interview in San Diego? Just in general, nationally, they've started doing naturalization, so you'll get your turn in San Diego soon enough. Abdul Wai says, what does it mean to have a CR1 case? So a CR1 is the code for a conditional relative one. This means that you got married, you filed for a green card, and your marriage was new. And if by the time you actually get your green card physically, your marriage is less than 2 years old, then they're going to give you a conditional green card, and that means it's a 2-year green card. And once it's nearing the 2-year end, so once that green card, as a 2-year green card, is nearing expiration, you have to file another application form I-751 to remove the conditions to get a permanent 10-year green card. And that application, they're going to look and analyze to see whether you have really been in a real relationship or if it was a fake relationship. So the conditional aspect goes to the fact that they'll have to check your case again to confirm that it wasn't fake. And so that's what the focus is on. Mintusop says, you're awesome, thank you. A regular viewer, I remember see your name. Official Raja says, case I-130 for spouse applied 2019 has stopped for further processing until December 2020. There's no stop I'm not sure where your case is, but I-130 should not be stopped for further processing. So you're making a mistake. There has been no stop in processing. If you applied in 2019, just be patient. I got to see your individual case, but you got to be patient to see what's going on. Before this, earlier today, I did a 1.5 hour intense training session and seminar for other immigration lawyers about this kind of stuff, marketing and using these social media aspects. And one thing I do is when I'm talking in front of a computer, because I don't have a person in front of me, it's hard for me to gauge how loud I need to talk. And so what happens is I end up yelling. So I yelled for an hour and a half. And usually I only yell for this 30 minutes that we're doing this daily right here. But I really took it out of me, all this yelling and stuff. So I'll see how far into today's live video we can go and how much energy and throat power I have for that. But we'll keep it going. User49 says, one handsome lawyer, honest lawyer. Thank you so much, User49. Nazir says, thanks, you're welcome. Nazir. Official says, thank you. Thank you too. Mintusop says, my case is pending 28 months. Can I do something about that? Mintusop, I got to see what's going on with your case, whether you can or not. But check out USCIS processing times, see if it's outside normal processing times. And if so, just contact USCIS either through the online system or give them a call to see what's going on. Official Rod says, case, yeah, so I can't really comment on your individual cases because I don't know the facts and the issues involved. So we really have to schedule a consultation to see what's going on for me able to get into that kind of detail. This is more general information here. Abdullah says, are you getting any cases approved from USS? Yes, I'm getting approval notices frequently, so that they're processing. I just got an I-130 approved to be transferred to NBC. Skrorok says, someone, I just say Skrorok, you're on both on TikTok and on Instagram. We got a great fan here. Thank you, Shak Rule. Someone told me a green card marriage case is faster than to be citizen. Is that correct? A green card holder marriage case? No, that's not correct at all. I mean, right now they may be going at the same time, but in general, a U.S. citizen marriage case is faster than if you're married to a green card holder. Mintusab, you're welcome. Thanks again for joining. Thanks so much. So yeah, I mean, when you marry a U.S. citizen, they just process them generally faster. Now, you might, right now, some service centers are backed up. They might be faster, some may be slower. So it could happen where one green card case might get done faster. I mean, a green card case based on marriage to a green card holder could be faster than a marriage case to a citizen. I can't guarantee that 100% of the time that's not going to happen. But traditionally how it works is that if you're married to a U.S. citizen, the I-130 will be faster, and there's no preference category wait line. That's some terminology that doesn't matter here, but essentially they give those priority. so the wait is less and it happens faster. But not every case, you know. Sometimes some cases get lost. Sometimes there's some other issues with cases that make them take longer. I have one case right now. It's an I-130. It's taking almost 2.5 years. But there's some security issues where the government is doing additional background checks, and the applicant knew what's happening because they have members of their family that are weird, and so they're like, yeah, it's probably always get hit by this. Every time I go to the airport, they probably, so they expected it, and they told me from beforehand, hey, you know, it's going to happen, but we're clean, we haven't done anything wrong. We're just, unfortunately, have distant relatives that drag us into all this garbage. So they were expecting it, so these things happen. Glow on Instagram asks, are they giving out visas for people who want to travel to the U.S.? Maybe. I mean, depends on the embassy, depends on what kind of visa you're applying for. Yes and no, it just depends, as most lawyer answers go, Glow. So you need to be much more specific on what kind of visa you want, and then which embassy it is, if they're open, if they're granting those visas, if those visas will be subject to a travel ban or not, or you're subject to a travel ban or not. There's just a lot of things going on to be able to answer that question with specificity. But thanks for joining and thanks for asking. So it's not clear on that. And you know, one of the biggest problems now are people who have you know, employment-based cases or H-1B kind of cases. They can't get a visa because of travel bans, and they're stuck outside. They might have taken a vacation back home, expecting they could just go to do another interview, get a new visa, and they're stuck without that. All those people who applied for H-1B in April and got approved, all of a sudden they can't get a visa this year. It's going to be a horrible situation. And then there's people with employment-based cases. You know, they waited all this time, eventually going to do an interview, but they're not issuing those visas. So it's a really troublesome situation that people are going through right now in these immigrant visa categories and non-immigrant visa. Apple asks, can I travel to the U.S. territories without visa if I'm a green card holder? If I'm a green card, can I travel to U.S. territories without a visa if I'm a green card holder? Well, if you're going to go to U.S. territories, it doesn't, like, having a green card or citizenship is the same. I'm not sure why you'd be worried about that. Yeah, U.S. territories you go to, no problem. Like, you mean go to, you know, you're a green card holder, you want to visit Puerto Rico? Yeah, you can. I don't see why that's a problem. Mohammed says, I have a U.S. passport. If I apply my wife and 2-year daughter, how long they took your visa? I don't know, maybe 1, 2, 3 years, something like that on average. Mitsup says, any DACA updated? No, we still don't know. The government, DACA is deferred action for childhood arrivals. These are people who got special permission to get a work permit and be in the United States because they entered with their kids and they're just stuck here. And the Supreme Court said the way the administration canceled DACA was inappropriate. They have to redo it. And so people had this mistaken thought that DACA is legalized, but it's not. The president is probably going to shoot it down again. But in the meantime, because the Supreme Court undid the cancellation, the government should be able to issue new DACA cases and advanced parole, but they have not updated us on what's going to happen, so we're in this limbo right now. I had a commenter on YouTube was frustrated with this comment, say, well, that didn't take much thought to do that, but it did. You have to analyze a lot of things to know what's wrong, but forget that fool. And my point of it is, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. You could take the risk, for example, of applying if you haven't before to renew it, and or file it for advanced parole, but we don't have, and the government has not issued exact guidance. Sorok asks, so if you give me a strong answer, can I bring all members of my family, parents, sister over age finally? Sorok, I don't know. I need to know your family. I can't answer case-specific advice in this public forum without knowing anything other than your screen name. So definitely schedule a consultation. We could talk about it and explain that. But that's the only answer I give you here. This is not intended for case-specific advice. As I always say at the beginning of everything, I'm not trying to, like, you know, get a case, but we just got to talk about it in more detail. User 49 says, I'm on an H-1B, planning to travel outside. What are my options if they don't let me back in? That's a hard question to answer. What are your options? That's something we have to consult with in private. First of all, let's see if there's a risk of them not letting you back in, so we can plan and maybe not even leave just to be safe. So I need to know more about your background. Someone said, Muhammad says, someone said me they took 1 year. Listen, Muhammad, the person that asked about how long for a spouse and kids. Well, anything's possible. That's why I said 1, 2, 3 years. A lot of people say a lot of stuff, and so I wouldn't rely on someone saying something like that. I just would listen to a lawyer that knows what they're doing, first of all. And second of all, as I've said every day, 10 times a day on these things constantly, is the timelines are in a period of serious fluctuation right now. As you know, COVID-19 has shut down many parts of the world, including U.S. embassies. So if your spouse had a visa interview in January or February, and the embassy got shut down. Right now it's July, they're still not doing interviews, and we don't know when the embassy is going to open up. So if someone had told you it's going to take a year, could they have calculated COVID-19? Could they have calculated the myriad of travel bans? Could they have calculated the public charge rule that's delaying some cases? There's so many fluctuations here that's just not reasonable to even say, you know, someone told me 1 year, 3 years. These kind of things you just got to be flexible on and do it. If you're a citizen, why is it taking so long for you to even start the process? So this is something I talked about yesterday. Everyone's worried about how long the government's going to take, but what I found, every single person who's ever asked me how long it's going to take, and they're worried about that. You ask them, well, why didn't you start sooner? And they're like, I don't know. And so if you're a U.S. citizen, that means you had an opportunity. You have a 1-year-old child, and you're married. You could have filed this case a long time ago. So don't worry about the time that the government's going to take. Worry about how much time you're going to take to get this done. And so consult with a lawyer, get down to business, and get your family here. And don't worry about what they're doing. Worry about what you're doing, how you could take action and start your process. Saricha says, hi, I applied for citizenship and done with fingerprints and all. Any guess when the interview? No, I mean, it's just whenever the government gets to it. I'm going to start skipping the questions about timelines. Sorry, guys. It's just the same answer. Is like, you know, things are different for every case. There's no way to answer this timeline question. Abdul says, where will you have to do an interview for a CR1 case in America? Abdul, I explained this. If the person applying for the green card is overseas, they do it at the U.S. Embassy. If they're in the U.S., they do it at their local field office in most cases. All right. Mom says, I can apply in 2 or 3 months, or I need to wait. Mom, you'll consult with a lawyer. That's the only thing I could tell you. Immigration Lawyer Mumita, thank you so much for joining. A great colleague of ours who's really taking over TikTok right now, Immigration Lawyer Mumita. If you see her name right here, please add her channel. She has a lot of information, putting out a lot more TikToks than I do. So definitely check her out. Okay, let's see. All right, so yeah, this timeline question is just, there's no answer to this kind of stuff. You know, everyone knows what we're going on through in this world right now. So the only thing is be patient. I mean, constantly worry about how long it's going to take. It's just not reasonable. And so you got to wait and see what's going on. Siraj says, please answer. You know, ask your question again. I didn't see what you are. Yeah, thank you. I love the crystal ball question. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't have my mother-in-law was saying this as well. She's like, tell me you don't have a crystal ball. You know, that's the thing. Abdul Waid says, what is the timeline change for next month? Abdul Waid, please stop asking. The questions you are asking are just not reasonable. We can't answer those kind of here. Just consult with lawyer in private. If you want to go every different version of asking this question, just schedule a time and a paid consultation. We can talk about it all you want. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's just not reasonable to ask this question. There's no answer. So don't just ask different ways about it. All right, so yeah, the thing with citizenship is they've been the priority, so those should be happening. I'm getting appointment notices for both people to do their citizenship appointment and for the oath ceremony. They're rapidly doing these. And one thing that allows them to do it is they made the decision that if you get your citizenship case approved at the interview, pretty quickly they want to rapidly give you the oath ceremony the same day to get it done. And also they're doing these quick drive-by citizenship appointments. We just get your appointment, for oath ceremony to get it quick. So they're doing numbers. They get through the citizenship backlog. For adjustment of status, it's a little more complicated. There's a lot more things they have to analyze. I mean, citizenship, there's a lot to analyze as well, but we'll see how they're going to deal with that. Sreech asks, hi, I applied for citizenship December and done with fingerprints. Well, I answered that question already. Please don't ask the same question. Nitat says, my I-336 interview that was in March is rescheduled to COVID-19. So I don't know when it's going to be scheduled. Just be patient. But the N-336, for those who don't know it, is if you had a citizenship case denied and you want to challenge it, saying I want to get it like appeal, you submit for N-336 and you talk with them. And you check it out. Some appealing organization checks it out to see if it was correct or not. But those got canceled too because those require in-person, and we don't know when they're going to be rescheduled. Shakarula says, how to make consultation with you, sir? Well, just email my office, info@jqqlaw.com, and describe what your immigration issue is so I know what it is. I get so many people emailing me. I can't remember that we talked or had this discussion. Just break it down and then I can respond and we can schedule a video consultation. Fees do apply for the consultation, but email me and we can talk about it at that time what the fees would be. Nitan says, do you have any idea when next interview? Nope, no idea. Sirius says, sorry, my internet wasn't working. I didn't hear an answer. I didn't give you an answer, Suraj, so there's no answer. It's impossible. It's impossible to answer your question. So that's that. So yeah, these timeline questions, we keep getting them. I know it's a big worry people have. That's probably why 20 people ask it every time. it's just not reasonable to ask that question. It's impossible. Any person that does give you a response at how long these things are without couching it in a million different variables and saying maybe, maybe not, is being dishonest. So if you want me to lie to you, then keep asking the question, but I'm not a liar, so I'm not a person to be asking these questions about. So I'll take a couple more questions today. If you have any non-timeline related, real actual questions, we could get into that and take it from there. If not, we're gonna end it, and we'll be back tomorrow, Friday. Friday is a Facebook day, and we could take some questions over there. And I'm gonna be here on TikTok as always, Immigration Lawyer John, 5 p.m. Pacific. And the recording of this will be on YouTube, along with a lot of clips and a lot of information and that. Joshua says how to do dual citizenship. It's not how you do it. It's just you apply. So if you're, I see you put a flag of Israel. If you're an Israeli citizen and you apply for U.S. citizenship, then you're a dual citizen. Love Life Forever says why what? Love Life, please be Love Life Forever. I'm not sure what your question is. Just say why. That's a good question. Why do people keep asking about timelines when they tell them and I explain this whole thing? Because they probably tuned in later, they'll know. But I guess that's it for today. Thank you everyone who joined. It was a pleasure speaking with you and going through a lot of this stuff. We'll be back again tomorrow. We got one last question. Abdul says, my uncle got his citizenship today. Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful news. Glow asks on Instagram, is there any way to get my mother a visa or green card if she came to U.S. and illegally here for 27 years? Glow, maybe. I don't know your specific facts, your mother's specific facts. So we have to schedule a consultation to learn a lot more about it. It's not something I could answer without these little facts. It's kind of like contacting a doctor and saying someone is sneezing. Do they have a bad disease or is it okay disease? Can we cure them? A doctor over the phone is not going to be able to answer that kind of question. So please check that out. Shark says everything will be solved by mailing, sir. Probably. I don't know, Shark. Just email me. We'll schedule a consultation. I can't answer everything will be solved. That's just such a case-specific and general kind of thing to say. I can't help you with that. But thanks for your question. And Josh Production, thank you. Abdullah, thank you as well. And with that, we'll end it for today. A little bit shorter than usual, but I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. God bless. Bye-bye.